Weird science is the revolution.
Hello, you weirdos. Jim here, and welcome to my most anticipated comics for the upcoming week. It is a holiday weekend for some, and that's why this show is a tad bit late here, but it's still going to get out there on a Sunday night, just, getting near the witching hour. But here is the show where I like to say we put away last week's comics and get fired up for this upcoming week's comics. And yeah, the big two, they've had some problems. They've had a couple rough weeks. Hopefully this all rebounds this week. And if you haven't watched or listened to this show before, I end up giving you the books that I'm looking forward to. But I'd love to hear the books that you all are looking forward to. It's kind of a show to get everybody fired up for these comics and also maybe make people aware of things that they weren't aware that were coming out or have been coming out that are pretty cool. But with that, not every book on this list is going to be something that I'm going to tell you is a 10 out of 10. There's not, you look at the show reviewers, they'll tell you everything is. But the idea of some of these being new number ones, some of these are books that maybe haven't been that great, and I'm hoping they'll get better, and maybe things that just kind of strike my fancy a bit. But how we do this is I give you the title, creative team, price, and solicit, maybe give you a few jokes in between. But we're going to start with DC Comics. Not a ton of DC Comics out again this week. And it is one of those things, if you have noticed, they've been thinning the herd. A lot of the miniseries that they had been putting out as those miniseries ended, they didn't replace them like they usually do. So there's a lot less books at this moment. I think what's going on is they are thinning the herd a bit to get to the whole Absolute Power event this summer, where I think that at the end there won't be a reboot, but there might be a change of status quo for the line, the books, whatnot. And then I think we're going to get a whole lot of new number ones around September, October area, something that I am probably going to do a video on if I don't get too lazy, which that is a, big probability. But we're going to start with DC Comics and Batman, number 146. I know not everybody's been into the Chip Zdarsky run of Batman. I have been up and down. Feels like the book has been delayed a bit in my mind, but I'm looking forward to see what's going on with Zor-En-Arr / Failsafe. And on the cover, you do end up having Punchline, which is kind of cool. And I'm hoping that I'm going to get a early copy of this and maybe put an early review out on Monday night. I'll see. I have my sources. I have, but here it is. Batman 146 is written by Chip Zdarsky, art by Jorge Jimenez and Michelle Bandini, and it is $4.99 because of that backup that has Michelle Bandini. Here is the solicit. The explosive dark prisons continues as Batman learns from an old mentor what Zor's plans are for Gotham City and the world. Can the Dark Knight escape from a prison designed by the ultimate version of himself? And what nefarious role does the Joker play in all of this? So I am looking forward to see how this plays out. I'm telling you, at this moment, the Batman book is not something that feels like a must-buy for me. It's still Batman. And I'm just hoping, because there's a bunch of things that I've read by Chip Zdarsky that I really like, and I'm hoping that he just kind of grabs me. And again, I'd like to hear, because I hear people who say, oh my God, I'll follow Chip Zdarsky anywhere, and some people who are done with him, which, both are either side of the deal. I'd like to see what people think, but I hope it's good. Batman needs to be good. That is kind of, I don't know if you know this, it's one of the bigger books in comics, if not, DC comics, all that. They need Batman to be hitting, and I hope it does. So the next book, and only the second of two books that I have on my list from DC Comics, is Kneel Before Zod, number 4, written by Joe Casey, art by Dan McDade, and it is a $3.99. I haven't loved the series. I really haven't, but the cliffhanger of last issue was pretty good, and seems like, you're going to get a big issue here. And here is the solicit. The aftermath of war. The brutal invasion of New Kandor has cost its supreme ruler everything he holds dear. That's like a real diss on Lord Zod, right? He's out and about in the Sinister Sons. Just because Ursa ends up appearing, I'm still not that convinced she's dead. I got to see her get buried. I don't know. I have to see it. I swear to God, we're going to get to this issue. She's going to cough and wake up. What happened? My love? It was her fault, though, too. She was being a real jerk, right? But there will be a reckoning. I guess maybe she is dead. And General Zod will not rest until he has enacted his bloody revenge. It's funny, all this, and it's like, we'll get to the issue, and he's really, the revenge is on Ursa, for pretending. She's been punking him. Let the universe tremble as Casey and McDade deliver the newest chapter of DC's darkest cosmic odyssey. Everything he holds dear. Not Lord Zod. He's out and about. He's on his walkabout. He is. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, I haven't really loved the series, but I haven't hated it. It's one of those books, and we're at the 4th issue. Usually I say that I give something 3 issues, and usually I can get the lay of the land. This one's still kind of like a little out of my grasp of whether I like it or not. I hope that it does grip me. And when I say stuff, especially with DC, if I say on this podcast, this video, this whole thing, if I say, I'm dropping this book, if it's DC, I'm completely lying to you because we'll be talking about it anyway on our podcast. But if I do say that, what it is, it's like a symbolic drop. Like if I was just buying it, not having it, but then I drop it. It's symbolic. But I'm not ready to drop the Kneel Before Zod, but I'm not ready to say it's on the top of the pile either. So we'll see. Maybe this issue will get it going, but that's it for DC. Again, there's a couple other books coming out, but they're not anything that I've been that interested in. I will mention that I almost put Birds of Prey on the list, but the problem is that Birds of Prey by Kelly Thompson, I keep putting on the list saying, I hope this is the issue that I like. And then I never like it. Now I feel like a fool. So I don't need to feel like a fool, right? I get told all the time I'm a fool. So that one didn't make it this week. Maybe next week. Maybe I will like it. Maybe I just did put it on the list. I don't know. You'll have to judge that. But we're going to move over to Marvel. Marvel doesn't have a lot of books that I'm going to put on this list either. And one I'm putting with a huge asterisk. It's because it's a number 1. I hope that it bucks the trend for me and it's good. And I'm talking about Deadpool number 1. Deadpool number 1, written by Cody Ziegler. They tell me he's a funny guy. I haven't seen it, but then what worries me is when you have somebody who thinks they're funny and they get on Deadpool, they go way over the top. I'm worried that he's going to go way over the board and just nonsense, but we'll see. We'll see. Written by Cody Ziegler, art by Roger Antonio, and it is $4.99, which I think is kind of crazy, but it says a new era for the merc with a mouth and a gun and a sword. See, it's already starting. Cody Ziegler, Futurama, Miles Morales, Spider-Man. Funny that they don't mention Spider-Punk because that book seems like everybody tells me how great it is, and I read it, and I don't know what the hell they're talking about. Has a wild ride planned for the merc with a mouth. We've said merc with a mouth twice. Introducing a terrifying new villain who won't stop until he catches Wade in his death grip, all in capital letters. I'll give Cody Ziegler some credit, though. If there is a character, a villain called Death Grip, that's pretty cool. That fits, okay? Also, you're playing the game right. Introduce a new villain, a new character right away, make it a bit collectible. Now you're playing the game. But all work and no play makes Deadpool a very dead boy. All right, you might have lost me again. We'll see. Cody Ziegler's he's an odd fella. He is, and he likes to think that he's funny. I don't find any of his things funny at all. In fact, most of the things that he writes are cringe to the extreme, and I end up getting a headache. So hopefully this will be better. And I said, sometimes you end up, and it's one of the things with Deadpool, I also think the same with Harley. When people get on a Deadpool or a Harley book, they think they have to Deadpool it up. They think they have to Harley it up. Instead of getting a story first, they're just setting up gags and stupid things like that. I hope that he actually has a story and it's not just nonstop gag this, gag that, because that will make me gag and then I'll be upset. But the next one is a book where I think that a lot of people reading Marvel will agree with me that when you go back and have these back in the day books written by classic writers, those are the ones that have been hitting pretty well. Obviously, Peter David was really, really nailing it. He ends up having the Symbiote 2099 deal out right now, but that seems to have been done a while ago because he is having some major health problems. I hope that he can pull through and give us some more books because those are great. But I also like J.M. DeMatteis, and this is one of his books. It's Spider-Man Shadow of the Green Goblin #1, written by J.M. DeMatteis, art by Michael Stahl, and that's S-T-A period Maria. And I looked up, I wasn't familiar with Michael Stahl period Maria. And when I looked up, I'm like, I kind of like the art. There's some sexy art. There is a picture, and it's weird to say it's sexy, but it's X-23, Laura just covered in like leather and blood. Crazy. Pretty cool, though. It's $4.99, this book, and it is kind of a wacky deal. Here we go. Norman Osborn was not the first Goblin. Norman Osborn is the Green Goblin you know, but he is not the original Goblin. Learn the shocking secrets of the Proto-Goblin and its dramatic connection to the Osborn family. What role does a young Peter Parker, who has not yet understood his great power and responsibility, play in this unfolding of events? J.M. DeMatteis, Spider-Man Kraven's Last Hunt, continues to build his legacy and mythos of classic spider lore, this time paired with rising star Michael Stahl period Maria. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that period, but I like to say it anyway. Yeah, I'm actually looking forward to this. It seems kind of cool. I like J.M. DeMatteis, and I'm all for it. So I'm going to check that out, and I would expect that both of those, Deadpool and Spider-Man Shadow of the Green Goblin #1, will have reviews on the channel here. And I didn't even say it, but probably at least Batman on the DC side of things. But that's it for the big two. Maybe I'm not like throwing a lot out there for the big two because I'm afraid they're just going to let everybody down. They've had some rough weeks, but let me know if there's any other books that you're looking forward to that are coming out while I go off to the indie books. And if you have been listening, I hope you are listening to me and my man Greg from the Wakazashi's Tea House channel. When we do our best of the week, we are doing a lot more indie stuff than I normally would have in the past because there's a lot of really good indie books coupled with the trouble the big two are having. But that's the cool thing. There's always some sort of comics out there to read. You just got to root through things. You got to look. They're not going to just jump out and yell boo at you. Right? You're going to have to like look through the nooks and crannies sometimes, but I don't think you're going to have to look that hard at the indie books this week. There's some big ones coming out and some ones that I am really looking forward to, but we're going to start with something that I really do like and never really get to talk to anybody about. I've never done a review of any of these on the channel here. I've never actually even done any podcast on this man's work, and I should because it's awesome. I'm talking about Stan Sakai, and I'm talking about Usagi Yojimbo, and this is Usagi Yojimbo, The Crow #1, writing and arting by Stan Sakai, and it's $4.99. It comes out from Dark Horse Comics. Finally making it out of the frozen mountains, Usagi and Yukichi come across a merchant being attacked by 4 brigands. They rescue the supposed merchant, only discover much later that he is really a criminal with a huge bounty on his head. Of course, and I wish that was like paper towels they mean, but I think they mean like a price on his head. That's what I think they mean by bounty, so settle down. Of course, wherever there is a huge reward, you'll find bounty hunters, Jen and Stray Dog, and other unscrupulous trackers. I'm having problems. It's late. Oh, my goodness. Or I'm just a dummy. I think it's a combination of all of those. Unscrupulous trackers. Thank you. Galooly. But I'm looking forward to reading this. It's one of those things where when I read a bunch of comics, and I have a bunch of shows that do stuff here, all that sort of jazz, I do like to have a couple things that are just for me, that I just sit down and read. There's few and far between. Because anytime I start reading something, I think I have to do a video or make a podcast, usually a podcast. If you end up, and just as a little commercial, our Patreon, if you like what you hear here and want a lot of exclusive stuff, why don't you come over to our Patreon at patreon.com/weirdscience. We have a ton of shows, and almost every one of them is like, yeah, I think I'll read this. Yeah, I'll do a podcast. Hey, I think I'll read this. I'll ask this guy to do a podcast. We have a ton of reading clubs. That's what usually ends up happening, and I'm really shocked that there's no Usagi Yojimbo reading club yet. There might be as we speak. But the next book is a special. I like the wordplay here. This is TMNT, Saturday Morning Adventures, April special. Number one, you get it? It's April, but it's also April. Oh my goodness, they did it. Written by Eric Burnham, art by Sarah Meyer, and it is $6.99. It is an oversized deal. Kind of consider it a special, but also like an annual type deal. I just like that it's April and it's in April, right? What better month to have a special dedicated to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles' favorite journalist in a jumpsuit? Shredder's been stranded after his plan to acquire a new Technodrome backfired on him, but April still finds herself in a serious situation with the heroes in a half shell nowhere in sight. Luckily, April doesn't have to adventure alone as Ace Duck makes his debut, or debut, as they say in France, seeking hidden treasure in the lost temple of Avelia. This adventure will be newsworthy, and that's no April fooling. Also, because you demanded it, this 40-page issue features the return of another very special mutant, Mona Lisa. I don't know. I like Mona Lisa, but I don't know that anybody's yelling for her. And it is weird, too, because I'm sure there are people like, I love the Turtles, but I don't love just an April-centric deal, but I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to check it out. I like April. So, though, I like Mona Lisa, too, but I don't know that, everybody's, like, yelling for that. But we'll see. We'll see. And I really do like the Saturday Morning Adventure stuff, especially the TMNT stuff. So that's something that I'll be checking out. I'm going to move on to a book that I always have to mention that I named the letters page. So you can all pat me on the back and thank me, because I really think that that is the big draw. The big draw for the Sacrificers is the name of the letters page. So there you go. I'm the star. Sacrificers number 7, written by Rick Remender. And I'm not joking. I did name it. Art by Max Fumiera and Dave McKeag, which we'll talk about old Dave later with his colors. And it's Image Comics. I didn't say IDW was the TMNT Saturday Morning Adventures, but the Sacrificers number 7 is Image, $3.99. Alone and dangerously close to death, Saluna is on the run, chased through a brutal unknown landscape as the absence of power has triggered massive world destruction that not even a god can contend with. I really like the Sacrificers. It's one of those books that if you do have somebody who, wants to get into comics or like more indie, like say they're like, oh man, you told me to read these Marvel things and this DC, it's not hitting with me. What else can I read? The Sacrificers is a great book to have people like, hey, check this out, right? There's a lot of others too, say a Transformers, that sort of deal. But the Sacrificers are a really good book to get people involved in the hobby that we like to call comics, in a game that I like to call life. But yeah, Sacrificers is great, so I'm looking forward to that. Next book is part of the Energon universe. It seems, I thought that people were kind of forgetting about it, but when I actually ended up listing my favorite Energon books in order, saying Transformers, Duke, and then Cobra Commander, I got a lot of comments. Well, you didn't mention Void Rivals. I was like, I thought everybody forgot about it. In fact, I think I forgot about it. I still do like it, so I have it on the list. Void Rivals number 8, written by Robert Kirkman, art by Lorenzo De Felici. It's published by Image Comics and Skybound, and it's $3.99. The only thing that stinks about Void Rivals is I didn't name the letters page. If I named the letters page, right, that'd be pretty good. I was just going to give a name of what, Void This, right? Would that be, no, that would be terrible. See, I'm a one-hit wonder on the Sacrificers. Derek and Salila go face-to-face with Proximus, face-to-face with ... certain death. What I do like about the Skybound solicits, they're always quick. They're barely a sentence, and it makes me giggle. Because, it's one of those. They know they got you. The quality is in the book, not the solicit. They're not going to, try to fool you. They already put their claws into you. They already got you. So there you go. Certain death. Oh, my goodness. Now we're going to keep on the indie train, but we're going to go to a couple books. And I think this might actually surprise some people. Some people have told me like, oh my God, I can't wait for those Ghost Machine books to come out. And they are. They're coming out this week. And I kind of knew, but then forgot. And now I do know, because there's a couple and I'm looking forward to them. Geiger number 1 is the first one, written by Jeff Johns, art by Gary Frank. obviously Image Comics and Ghost Machine $3.99. The critically acclaimed team of storytellers Geoff Johns and Gary Frank return to the nuclear wasteland of Geiger for an all-new ongoing series. And calling it Geiger #1 might throw some people off because they might think, okay, I get it. When they're going to do this Ghost Machine, they're going to relaunch and just put the old book out. And I do think on the cover, it like has a bunch of things saying, hey, all new and stuff like that, because I'd be confused. But it's an all new ongoing series starring the violent and unpredictable glowing man leaving his home behind. Tariq Geiger now walks the radioactive roads of the former United States with his two-headed wolf Barney. But as his enemies doggedly pursue him, Geiger discovers salvation from the unlikeliest of foes. But what secrets does this potential ally hold that could help Geiger? And exactly how many people are after the glowing man? And why? Well, I don't know why, but I think 7.5 are. Don't miss the vital action-packed chapter in the unnamed saga. So that is the first book that is coming out there, and we have a couple others. The next one is the one that I'm actually really looking forward to. But before I get to that one, I may do a non-spoiler initial reaction type deal for these Geiger books that may come out Monday or Tuesday night. I did that with the Ultimate X-Men book, and people seem to like it. And I am actually, when we're done here, even though it's late, I do believe I'm going to go and read these three. I was going to say Machine Head books. What am I? Freaking, Bush? I'm going to go read these Ghost Machine books and then maybe work something up for a, initial reaction, non-spoiler, of course. And then maybe even review them. It's one of those things people had told me over and over, because what I like to do is talk about comics, but I also really love reviewing comics. If you haven't noticed, that's kind of my thing that I really enjoy doing. But people had told me all along, it doesn't work. You can't review comics on YouTube. And then it goes even further. You can't review indie comics on YouTube. Maybe we can all prove them wrong. We'll prove them wrong one review at a time. The next book is weird because it ends up where the solicit here is spelt wrong, but it is Red Coat, but this ends up, it's spelled Red Coot. I hope it's not Red Coot. That doesn't sound good. Red Coat #1, written by Geoff Johns, art by Brian Hitch. This is the book that I'm most intrigued by from that, preview special one shot that they had out. What was cool about that one shot that they put out was everybody I talked to had like a different, oh man, I'm looking forward to this, I'm looking forward to that, or a combo of them. That's always cool. I thought that was cool. But Red Coat was the one that I've been looking forward to the most, so I'm excited for that. It's $3.99, Image Comics Ghost Machine, or Machine Head if you are a Gavin Rossdale fan. And this says series premiere. It is. Immortal Mercenary. Those are immortal, period, mercenary, period. It's like that artist name, Star, whatever, period. Kind of a tool, period. Ooh. Meet Simon Pure, the newest unnamed hero, created by comic all-stars Geoff Johns and Brian Hitch. British redcoat and all-around rogue, Simon mysteriously became immortal in 1776. It's an important year, I think. After a run-in with the clandestine cabal known as the Founding Fathers, which included George Washington, check, John Hancock, and many other prominent American Revolutionary War leaders. Maybe John Adams, I would think would be, right? Since that fateful day, Simon has led a life of adventure and avarice, rubbing elbows and sometimes fists. Rubbing fists, he is, with many of history's most renowned figures. I wouldn't have had it like that. Rubbing elbows and sometimes fists. I know, rubbing fists. Including his nemesis, Benedict Arnold. Ooh, there's a couple. Albert Einstein, Annie Oakley, and many more. What's he have against Al? Right? I mean, and Annie Oakley. They got Benedict Arnold. He can go screw it. But Albert and Annie? Oh, goodness. One thing they all agree on, they never want to see him again. But what are the true origins and extent of Simon's power and the mysterious organization behind them? Behind that rubbing fist? And how has it secretly shaped America and the world? Simon's on a quest to find out. 34 pages of story for only $3.99. That's cool. Now, the next book, and I do want to point out that there's 3 books coming out from Ghost Machine, right? And all three are written by Geoff Johns. I mean, are we supposed to start taking bets which one gets delayed first, or if all of them? Because boy, he can't even come up with one book, a JSA book. That thing comes out every 9 years, it seems, and yet now there's 3. I think he might have been slacking off a bit. Like, that's the thing, too. I guarantee you there are people who are just watching, and if these books, you want the books to come out on time. Like, you want the trains to run on time as well, I hear. But if they do come out on time, I think people will be pissed at that. Maybe he's going to have to delay a book, one of these on purpose, just so it doesn't look like, oh, now that he has his own thing, now he can get things on time. Oh, my God, now his alarm clock works, right? I think he should do that. I think just if I was his manager, PR guy, I'd say, listen, you pick one of these, and it has to get delayed at some point, or people are going to just be pissed, but we'll see. This next one, a lot of people were interested in the deal, in the preview one-shot. I need more, but again, that's why you get to do number 1, and I love Jason Fabok. So Rook Exodus #1 is the third and last of these Ghost Machine. I almost said Machine Head again. Written by Geoff Johns, art by Jason Fabok, Image Comics. I almost said it again. Ghost Machine. I should write this down, right? $3.99. They're going to tell us that this is like the idea that they're pushing, hey, look, Redcoat, 34 pages of story for only $3.99. Rook Exodus laughs, says, hold whatever, hold my mead. And 44 pages for only $3.99. Oh my goodness. They're like competing here. They're both tryhards, I think. Geoff Johns and Jason Fabok to celebrate a team behind the smash hit Batman 3 Jokers. That hasn't really aged well with people. They're actually going to have a epilogue for that coming up in that Joker of the World book. If you didn't know about that, a little news here. I wish I had the breaking news deal. Not really breaking news, but still. They reunite for an all-new science fiction series. Hundreds of years from now, the man known as Rook was once a simple farmer who fled the crumbling Earth for a new life on the planet Exodus. Don't know that you want to go to a planet Exodus. That's just me. I don't know why. A terraformed planet where all of nature, including its imported animal population, was completely controlled by humans called the Wardens. That's throwing up red flags again. Like, you don't want to, like, oh, man, this place is great. Like, what are these, what are they called? Oh, they're called the Wardens. Yeah, I think I want to leave. I think I want to get off of Exodus. I was a little wary when I found out the planet's name was Exodus, but these, benevolent so-called deal that Wardens? At one point, my wife would call me the Warden when some of her friends would say, hey, do you want to go out? No, the Warden, but she didn't want to go out. She was using me. She threw me under the bus. But when Exodus's world engine failed, the Warden's power fell into the wrong hands. They fell into the other group, the Jailers. That's what I think. Creating chaos and mass evacuation from Exodus for those who could afford it. And I know that it would be me just stuck there. Like, really? Like, here I am, a dew farmer with nothing to actually do. Is that how they play it? Get me that milk. The rest, like Rook, must scavenge for an escape vessel as the war for control of what's left of Exodus begins. 44 pages of story for only $3.99. It's weird in the solicit it says, suck it, Redcoat. That is weird. Like, it's from the same company and they're still like competing. That's what keeps you going, though. A little competition, right? The last book is, and I threw this in the end because I keep forgetting it, and I know that I'd get crap again. The Walking Dead Deluxe number 86. I really have enjoyed the Walking Dead Deluxe issues that are coming out. And I actually have a podcast on our Patreon. If you didn't know, it's patreon.com/weirdscience, where you can get a ton of fun shows each and every day, week, month, year. But yeah, one of them is the Walking Dead Deluxe Reading Club show. And I'm really enjoying it. And at this point, if you are reading it, you'll know what I mean, that it's a real eye-opener. Carl. Come on, Carl, pull through. Yeah, Carl's in trouble. It's written by Robert Kirkman with art by Charlie Adlard and Dave McKeag on the deluxe colors. And when it first started, I thought that Dave McKeag was having a little learning curve. Some of the coloring was off, and you are really, I think, a tough job. You are not coloring something that's just, inks and what. You're coloring something that was supposed to be black and white, so it's already got shading, it's already got that, and he's been kicking butt, especially like lately. And if you have watched the show and you haven't been reading the deluxe deal, we're in Alexandria, and we're there where Carl's having some problems, right? He might have, 20 vision, not 2020. Yes. So with that, though, it's been really good. What remains of the Alexandria community cleans up the remnants of the Walker herd and reestablishes their home. I'm surprised they do not mention Carl in that, but they don't because they don't want to spoil it. And if you haven't read them, it's really cool because you end up having the original letters from that. And when you read it, it's crazy. When you end up like, oh man, you're reading a Marvel book who does letters. I wish DC would do the letters again, but the Marvel, sometimes they'll beg for letters each issue and you never see them. You're like, oh man, like maybe I should fake the funk and write in, which I have. And I've gotten into some of the issues, but the idea where, 4 or 5 letters, there are pages after pages of letters. It was so big. But then you also have the cutting room floor, where you have Robert Kirkman going back, rereading the issue and showing his original outline and talking about some of the things that he ended up thinking about and why he did this or that. It's really good. I didn't think I was going to like it as much as I do. I go, and it's a really fun read after you read the issue. And then they even have the little bites where there are these cartoony deals that are really fun. It's really good, and it's worth all of the deal, which I do think it's $3.99, but I did not have the price here. So I can't even remember. I just have the subscription and it pops in every time one comes in and I end up reading it and reviewing it. But that is it. That's all the ones that I am looking forward to, a bunch of books. And I am really looking forward to the Ghost Machine stuff, as well as all the other stuff, Sacrificers, Void Rivals, everything. So yeah, let me know what you guys are all looking forward to or curious about, or maybe hoping will get better, things along those lines in the comments, and then we could all pull together because like Guns N' Roses sang in the High School Musical, we're all in this together, is what I think happened in that, if I'm not mistaken. But let's all get together and come up with some comics, and then as the week rolls on, I'll review a bunch of things, and then we'll have Best of Me and Gray from the Wakizashi's Tea House channel, and then we start it all over again. Just keeps coming and coming. But with all that, thanks everybody, and I will talk to you all later.
Weird science is the revolution.